Hello and welcome. In this video, I'll be answering one of the most misinformed and incomplete lore question in the Doom universe. And that question is, did the Doomslayer defeat the Titan in Hell with his bare hands? The answer is, well, it depends. This will take me a little while to explain and theorize, so without further delay, let's just jump right into this. Now the first thing I needed to do was to find the source of all of this misinformation. Where exactly did this idea or concept even begin from? Because nowhere in Doom 2016 or Eternal does it actually explicitly mention that the Slayer has or can achieve this feat of strength. My initial research led me to a video from someone who is well known within this community, but there was no source listed. But I had a feeling that there had to be more to this. This had to have started from somewhere at the very top. So, I then created a YouTube poll to ask my viewers and subscribers what they thought. I asked anyone who voted yes to post their source. And out of over 350 people that voted, only one individual from within my community gave me the exact sources I was looking for, right down to the timestamp. So I wanted to give a big shout out and a big thank you to the user Gegia Alexandru. I really appreciate it, man, and thank you very much. Now before I begin, I want to emphasize something very important when it comes to learning about lore or even ancient history, and that is that context is extremely important. That is because the answer to this question is actually not straightforward. I mean, not at all. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but most of the times the answers to certain lore questions are outside of the game. Like when Hugo answers lore questions in his live streams and his interviews, even though those questions should have been answered in-game. Anyways, let's have a look at the two sources from where it all started from.
Don't really specify whether that was his or not, or whether the Slayer ever actually even used or needed. He does not need a mech. I just want to clarify that. Like, when he took down the Titans, he did it with his bare hands, with his weapons, like, you know, as the Slayer Testaments from 2016 say. So to see the mechs in the world is not to imply that he actually used a mech to take them down. And that will actually be discussed in Doom Eternal as well, if you pay attention to the codex. Everybody should read the codex entries, and each one comes with an illustration that you will piece together.
I think you made a good point, though, when we were talking earlier to somebody, that when the Slayer took down the Titans, as everybody knows from 16 lore, yeah. He did it with his guns in his hands. His bare hands. He doesn't need an Atlan.
And
it wasn't in that
sword.
Giant Atlan right there?
No, so he didn't use... So, TBD, we will not say whether or not he uses this or if it's even his particularly, because this is just a Fortress of Doom. It's a battle station.
And the Atlan in your Fortress of Doom, you know, I mean, I think you could say that it's yours because it is on your ship.
Right, and clearly you live on that ship. You've got your entire battle station downstairs with your PC, your classic PC. You got everything down there. Sure.
No, just so fans know, he definitely took... The Slayer doesn't need a mech, of course.
Yeah.
He's so powerful, but other people do because they're not as strong as he is.
Yeah.
Alright, now that I've established where it all started from, the first thing I need to talk about is which Titan are they specifically talking about, and the Titan that they're talking about is the one from the Slayer Testaments in Doom 2016. Now, there is a common misconception about where in the Doom timeline does the Slayer Testaments take place. Well, this part of the story happens after he has gone through the Divinity Machine, after the full demonic invasion of Argent D'Nur, and after the Argenta Civil War. So, after the Argenta Civil War, the Slayer and his loyal warriors went through the portal to siege Necrovol, as was their plan. But they were all betrayed by the Hell Priests, who were working against them the entire time. And once they went through the portals, none of them could go back. They were effectively stuck within Hell, and demons would be waiting on the other side to ambush them. And one by one, pretty much all of them would be wiped out, except for the Slayer and of course Commander Valen. Now I want to go back and break the video down because there are some huge inconsistencies with what Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton actually say. Now first things first, the Testaments only mention one Titan, not multiple, but ever since Doom Eternal, we know that the Slayer took down the Titan on Taras Nabad, and then eventually the Icon of Sin, so technically he is correct. Now secondly, remember how I said that context is important? Well, in these interviews, when he talks about the Slayer defeating the Titan with his bare hands, he was speaking figuratively, not literally. Now what does that actually mean? It means that the Slayer had weapons, which he controlled with his own hands in order to defeat this Titan. And since he was the one controlling the weapons, you could say that figuratively, he used his own hands to defeat enemies instead of taking control of a machine and letting the machine defeat enemies. I hope that makes sense. But to add a bit more context to this, the Slayer has never defeated a Titan with his bare hands. The Slayer has never punched a demonic Titan to death because the Slayer has never been shown to possess that level of strength. The Slayer is nowhere near that strong to be able to punch Titans like the Incredible Hulk or even Superman. Now, Hugo and Marty can say anything about what the Slayer can do, which they have done many times in the interviews and live streams, which happens to be outside of the game. But the only thing that counts is what the Slayer has already done within the game and its story. Because if it's not within the game or its written story, then it is invalid and it does not count. Simple as that. Now let's just say we assume that the Slayer does possess that level of strength. Then why is it that in the gameplay and in the lore, it actually never explicitly mentions it? And it's not like that he has been shown to regularly fight demonic Titans on a daily basis. For him, Titans like the Dreadnought and the Great One from Doom 2016 were major bosses for him. These battles more or less took a very long time for the Slayer to defeat them. And if the Slayer really did possess that level of strength, then even a fully powered Davoth would not have been much of an issue for the Slayer, because at that level of strength, there is nothing within the Doom universe that could compare to the Slayer at that power level, and therefore that entire universe, or the existence of all of the enemies, would really be redundant. It really would not make any sense for the Slayer to be that powerful, because there would be no enemies for him to fight, because no one would be able to challenge him. But as we've seen from all the games, that is not the case. There is always a stronger demon that is ready to fight the Slayer. Now finally in the interview, Hugo mentions that the Slayer also had his Crucible sword, but based on the lore in Doom Eternal, we know that he used his Crucible on the demonic Titan, the Dreadnought on Taras Nabad, and he left the Crucible embedded within the chest. After that, we have no idea whether he forged a new blade or not. Now, one could make the argument that the demonic Crucible was once the Doomslayer's weapon, but I don't think that is the case, because in Doom 2016, no one knows the true depths of the demonic Crucible except for Samuel Hayden, and at the end of the game, he's the only person that actually shows that it is a weapon. The Doomslayer had no idea that it was a weapon, and therefore I don't think that during the time of the Slayer Testaments, the Slayer actually had a Crucible sword. Okay, now that I've established where the source of all the misinformation has come from, and which parts are correct or incorrect, I know many people are wondering, what does the Testament actually say then? It doesn't say anywhere within the text that he defeated the Titan with his bare hands, but I know some people will take this particular statement as gospel or as literal statement, but I have to confirm, this sentence or this statement right here is figurative or it is metaphorical. It is not a literal statement. It is effectively a figure of speech. Now, the next Slayer Testament tells us that while the Slayer was fighting throughout hell, he came across the Wretch, who gave him his sword and shield. Now, based off of that Slayer testament, we can confirm that he did have melee weapons. In this case, he had a sword and a shield, and based off of Doom Eternal, we know that he also had his super shotgun throughout his time in Hell. So, how exactly did the Slayer defeat the Titan in Doom 2016? Remember, as far as we know, he did not possess a Crucible weapon. Well, for that, I'm going to need to reference a few other games where a hero takes on a massive Titan. A couple of games that come to mind are the God of War series and the Darksiders series, but there is one game that gives the most accurate idea of how the Doomslayer would have defeated the demonic Titan. This game is known as Shadow of the Colossus. The entire premise of this game is where you, the hero, go and kill massive Titans of all different shapes and sizes. Now, the way that you defeat these Titans is by climbing up to them or by mounting these certain platforms that are attached to their bodies. And then once you come across certain weak points, which are highlighted in an aqua blue color, the hero then takes his sword and stabs the weak point a few times, or until he is thrown off. Now, because we know that the Slayer is relatively fast and agile, it is more than likely that the Slayer climbed the Titan and targeted its weak points like its ankles, its knees, or even the spinal cord. He would have done enough damage to the Titan overall in order to expose its organs like its heart or its brain. Then he would have gone ahead and finished the enemy. So instead of the Slayer literally punching the Titan with enough force to kill it, he would have done something that he has always done, and that is to fight smart and weaken it for the killing blow. Now, some people might be saying that we've never seen an example of the Slayer fighting like this, but in fact we have, twice, in Doom Eternal. So in Doom Eternal, the Slayer defeated the Dreadnought in a very similar way, but in that case, he had the Crucible sword with him, so the Slayer only had to climb the Titan once and then stab him in the chest next to its heart, and then, because of the power of a Wraith energy, that one attack was quite effective to completely neutralize the Titan, and as long as the blade remains embedded, the Titan is considered dead. Now, the other better example is the Icon of Sin boss fight. The Slayer uses most of his arsenal to destroy the armor plating on the Icon, exposing his body underneath. Then, he unleashes his arsenal upon the Icon to destroy as much of its body as possible, exposing the weak points like his heart and his brain. Once the Titan is weakened, we can see the Slayer climbing up to his hand and jumping directly on its brain. He then stabs the Crucible directly into the brain, immediately neutralizing the Icon of Sin. So, to conclude the video, did the Slayer defeat the Titan with his bare hands? If we are speaking literally, then no, he did not, because there has been no evidence to prove that the Slayer possesses that level of strength or any sort of power in order to do something like this. But if we are speaking figuratively or as a figure of speech, then yes, he has, by using the weapons or the melee weapons at his disposal to slowly weaken the Titan and then finishing it off. And I would even go as far as to theorize that the fight would have taken a very long time to finish. That would have been the most difficult and possibly the most lengthiest boss fight for him up to date. He would have been quite exhausted after that fight, because eventually the demons would defeat the Doomslayer by trapping him within his sarcophagus. They did this by bringing down an entire temple upon him, so therefore this proves that the Doomslayer does have a limit to his powers, and the limits of his powers are, relatively speaking, grounded or somewhat realistic. He is nowhere near as powerful as other more overpowered comic book characters, and the Doomslayer certainly does not possess the power to punch Titans to death. Anyways, that is all that I have for this video. If you like this video, click on that like button and let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree with what I say. If you wish to support me, I have a Patreon and also my YouTube membership, so feel free to support me if you wish. Anyways, I will see you in the next video.